Okay. Thank you all, beautiful souls, for being here. I'm honored. I'm honored to be here. And I just want to, for those of you who don't know me, actually, one of my first wise teachers was Rukmini Walker. When I came to the Bhakti Center, it was my first service I don't know how I ended up there. I started assisting her with Urban Devi because it was at the time I could see, and still, but I can see the importance of women coming together and sharing wisdom and receiving wisdom and having a space where we feel understood. We feel that we can, there's a shared life experience where we can relate to each other. Um, and that transcends our age, our cultures, our backgrounds. So we have this commonality that we come together and into a temporary tribe. It's always been a once a month thing, and that was invaluable for me to understand what it's like to have a healthy community of people where we can express ourselves, ask questions, share doubts, hold space for each other through all the difficulties. And it's still, as you can see, there's so many people here, and so it continues to be invaluable. I found Bhakti Yoga many, many years ago, and had always been seeking for something that made more sense than the world that I was inhabiting. And I once asked Rukmini, I said, how do we know that we're loved by the divine, that there's a loving relationship there? And she said, because of all she said, I think the question was, how do you know that you're loved? And she said, by all the wisdom that's made available to us through teachers and sacred books and scripture. And so then someone who takes that in, absorbs it, and integrates it, and then shares it is a wise person that becomes a part of that cycle of having wisdom, giving wisdom, receiving wisdom, and it just keeps going round and round. And so I'd like to have a discussion with you more than anything about wisdom. What is it? What does it look like? How do we experience it? How do we know we have it? How do we know we don't have it? It's very clear in this world with the information overload that there is a lot of knowledge out there. But what is wisdom really? What is it really when we need to live it, when it needs to be applied? How does that happen? And if we have wisdom and are unaware of it, then we can't apply it. And if we can't apply it, we can't share it, then others won't see it. And so this is part of the cycle of acknowledgement, of um, honoring and sharing. So I want to start with, well, first I want to start with, and the reason I brought up Rukmini and all of you here, this includes you, is that I'd like to thank and honor all the people, named and unnamed, that have contributed to me gaining some understanding in life that I can apply, and that has brought me to where I am today. I wouldn't be where I am today if it weren't for everyone else that has so freely shared and given to me. So my mother, my father, my brother, all of my friends, my family, my teachers, the local barista, wisdom comes from everywhere. And so I'd like to honor that all of this I have received. There's no buying wisdom. You can't go to the store and get a pound of wisdom. What would that be like? And so it's priceless, really. So I just want to put that out there, and that this is an offering for in return, in kind, and an attempt to perhaps see also and start to acknowledge what it is that I've been given, so then I can share with everyone else. So I want to start off by asking you a question. Who here knows that they are a wise person? Who knows it? Don't be shy. There's no room for shyness here. So if you have this idea, yes, I know I'm a wise person. Just raise a hand. Shout it from the mountaintops. Okay, yes, we have one brave soul, two brave souls, three. Okay, Shamala, Yashoda, Rukmini. Yes, so we have some wise people here. Okay, good, good, good. And that's good. People who have acknowledged, yeah, I've been given some wisdom. I have it. I can share it if I choose to. And for the rest of us who are here, if we don't know it, I have good news for you. You are a wise person. You can't escape it. It's in you. And we're going to get into why that is. And so very briefly, if you're willing to share, I'd like to know from those of you who already know you are wise people, how do you share that wisdom? So we have Rukmini, I don't want to speak for you, but I think it's evident you share your wisdom by speaking, by teaching. But what would you say to that?
I would say, I mean, the first thing that comes to mind for me is radical noticing. If you notice that somebody's sitting in a corner, or, there's a kirtan going on in the temple, but somebody's sitting outside and they look like maybe they're crying, they're by themselves, they're isolating. I would say the first thing is to just to try to notice who is thirsty for some care. And I love what you said about wisdom going round and round, so the more we share, the more it comes back to us. I remember, well, if I can just say one other thing, I remember once Prabhupada told Yamuna Devi early on, early days, that if you don't share the wisdom you've learned, you will lose it, like a bucket with a hole in it. If you don't share what you've learned, you will lose it. So that would be my first thought. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay, so by recognizing, by seeing people, seeing what's needed. Okay. Shamala, and then where'd Yashoda go? She's here somewhere. How do you share your wisdom?
Hi, Lila and everyone. It's a really good question. I also relate to something that Rukmini Devi just said, which for me, I would use the word mindfulness, being aware of people and myself and the circumstances. And also sharing it by being a good listener. People need to be heard, and sharing it through writing, through speaking, just kind of, I think for me, wisdom is just accumulation of a lifetime, right? It's just gathering all the grace that we've been given and being able to apply that to a situation, or to a mentoring situation, or any kind of connection. Just being able to be myself, really, and share what I have learned in my journey so far.
Yeah, perfect. Beautiful. Okay, so you have some practical ways, and then also you defined wisdom as something that's accumulated, and then you share it through writing and different ways. Okay, and Yashoda, how do you share your wisdom?
Hare Krishna Prabhu Jai. Well, first of all, I actually don't really think I'm wise. It's just that I have been given wisdom by my spiritual master, by my mentors, by the people that I associate with. So I just try to live the example that that my spiritual master would want me to be. And I remember something that he said, that and my spiritual master is Bhakti Yoga Maharaj, if people don't know that. One of the things that he said is that every situation that we come into, every person that we meet, that we could be the only Vaishnav that that person is coming in contact with. And so how would we want to help that person continue on, this path? Oh, if you are the only Vaishnav in this entire lifetime that this person is going to meet, it could be at a shopping line, it could be, on the bus, It could be, waiting in the dentist's office. This is the only time this person is going to have contact with a Vaishnav. What are they going to take away? And so that always has me thinking, what example can I be? How can I speak kind words? How can I live my spiritual master's mission so that this person, even if I just smile at them, even if they just smile at me, they take away, oh, that was such a nice smile, or, that person actually recognized me, or, so that's kind of just how I just try to be in the world.
Beautiful. So you've displayed a beautiful balance of acknowledging that there's something you can give to others, but you also said it was given to me. And so that balance, striking it is often very difficult. We can tend to go from pride to humility, and just kind of we'll talk about that in a bit. Okay, so thank you all for sharing that, the ones who shared. And this is the good news. This is already ours. We have the capacity of thinking, feeling, intuiting, all of this. This is who we are. And truth, knowledge, wisdom, they're already present in us. They're inherent to us, and they can't be taken away. And because it's inherent, it's already there. It can't be taken away. And so we just said, yes, someone gives us wisdom, yes. But a little bit more precise with that is that they're removing the obstacles to us recognizing that we already have that wisdom. And so this is the function of a wise person, of an elder, of a guru, of a spiritual master, of a teacher. They remove the ignorance. They shine light on things. They illuminate. And so at the same time, we already had it because it's who we are. And in one of the translations of the Bhagavad Gita, H.D. Goswami says that we drastically underestimate ourselves. We think that we're mortal when we're truly immortal. We endure painful limits to our knowledge and our joy, and yet as eternal parts of God, of Krishna, of the divine, insert your own name for that higher absolute. Each one of us is entitled to innate and limitless awareness and joy. And we only need to claim them appropriately. And so that's a very important part. We need to claim them. We're always walking around like, okay, don't be entitled. I'm not the center of anything. There are things. The problem isn't that we're entitled or not entitled to. The problem comes in when we think we're entitled to things that we're not. But entitlement in and of itself is okay if we are actually entitled to some things and we claim them appropriately. And that's the key in this. I want to share something that this is a poem that was written by a person named Naima. And it clearly, for me, it defines, or it just expresses how things are inherent and they just come naturally. And so why put effort into something that is already just natural? It's just part of it. And so I want to share this. And I actually found the video of it because she reads it so much better than I could ever read it. So we'll share that, and then we'll actually get into the topic that we're going to get into today. Okay, so here we are. Okay, can you see a blank YouTube screen right now?
Yes.
Okay, here we go.
I wonder if the sun debates dawn some mornings, not wanting to rise out of bed from under the down feather horizon. If the sky grows tired of being everywhere at once, adapting to the mood swings of the weather. If clouds drift off, trying to hold themselves together, make deals with gravity to loiter a little longer. I wonder if rain is scared of falling, if she has trouble letting go, if snowflakes get sick of being perfect all the time, each one trying to be one of a kind. I wonder if stars wish upon themselves before they die, if they need to teach their young how to shine. I wonder if shadows long to just for once feel the sun, if they get lost in the shuffle not knowing where they're from. I wonder if sunrise and sunset respect each other even though they've never met, if storms have regrets, if volcanoes get stressed, if compost believes in life after death. I wonder if breath ever thinks of suicide, if the wind just wants to sit still sometimes and watch the world pass him by, if smoke was born knowing how to rise, if rainbows get shy backstage, not sure if their colors match right. I wonder if lightning needs an alarm clock to know when to crack, if rivers ever stop and think of turning back, if streams meet the wrong sea and their whole lives run off track. I wonder if the snow wants to be black, if the soil thinks she's too dark, if butterflies want to cover up their marks, if rocks are self-conscious of their weight, if mountains are insecure of their strength. I wonder if waves get discouraged, crawling up the sand, only to be pulled back again to where they began, if land feels stepped upon, if sand feels insignificant, if trees need to question their lovers to know where they stand, if branches waver at the crossroads unsure of which way to grow, if leaves understand they're replaceable and they still dance when the wind blows. I wonder where the moon goes when she is in hiding. I want to find her there and watch the ocean spin from a distance, listen to her stir in her sleep. Effort give way to existence.
Oh, I turned myself off.
So stunning. Thank you, Lila. That was magnificent. Thank you so much.
Yeah, she does an excellent point of, the nature of things. And, imagine rainbows getting stressed, like, oh my God, is it good enough? You know? Yeah, and we do that sometimes. And so let's talk about this. Let's talk about wisdom. First, what is it? We had some of these definitions from some of you, and those are all accurate. There are many ways to define wisdom. Wisdom in the Bhakti tradition, wisdom we can say is Srila Prabhupada uses the word knowledge, but this isn't like the kind of knowledge where you just have facts about artifacts. I like facts about everything, and that in and of itself is not wisdom. And he defines wisdom as, or he defines knowledge as the ability to differentiate between categories of reality. So what's real, what's not real, what is this thing, what is that thing? And there are three main categories that we talk about. And to know the difference between them is true knowledge. And I'll explain why it's true knowledge in a moment. So the first is the individual eternal person, the soul, the jiva, you can call it. There's so many different things that you can call it. It's the part and parcel of the complete. And I'm an individual eternal person. You're an individual eternal person. And then we can recognize that. That tree is an individual eternal person. So this is one category of reality. Now we have material nature. We have the world around us. It's an energy whose source is divine, but you can see that these energies get tempered while the energy itself, because it comes from an eternal source, that energy itself is eternal. It's temporarily organized in a certain way so that this energy becomes the earth. This energy becomes my body. This energy becomes this cabin that I'm sitting in. It becomes your desk. All of these things, they come from one source of energy. The organization of those elements is temporary, right? The things that organize this body for me to have is temporary, but where it comes from and what it ultimately is also eternal. But I have to know that that is different from the individual eternal person. That is not, the individual eternal person is not somehow organized to be a soul, to be an individual temporarily. It will always be an individual eternal person. There's nothing else to, you can't make it smaller. And then there's the source of all of that, which is sometimes referred to as Vishnu Tattva. It's the eternal, the everything, the absolute, the source of everything. And the other two categories emanate from that one complete category. And so, okay, so you're telling me that there are different categories of reality. What does this mean for me? Okay, so to have wisdom is to see the truth of the reality of things, and to see the truth of who I am and who you are and who everyone else is changes, it affects, it informs the way that we relate to ourselves, to others, and the things that we're seeing, to the world around us. So how I relate to the world, to my body, to this desk, is informed by my understanding of what it is. And it's the same for the soul, for the eternal living person. So my understanding that I, aside from this body, am an eternal person and as an individual, and that you are an eternal person, it informs how I relate to you and how I relate to the cashier at Target, and how I relate to the stranger or my neighbor or my best friend. And so that's why it's important to have ideas that I am not enough, that you are not enough, that that person over there is not enough, or everyone else is enough except me. That is not seeing the reality of who I am. And to not see the reality of who I am will affect how I behave, how I live my life, what I think of myself, what I share with others. How can I share something if I don't think it's enough? And so this is why these ideas affect our relating, our actions, and they are really the source of everything. So it's not enough to just know things. It's wisdom is to have realized knowledge. And what is it? What makes it realized? When I make choices on a moment-to-moment basis based on those realizations. So wisdom is realized knowledge. So it's knowledge-based action. And we just defined what knowledge is. Knowledge is the ability to discern, to reason, to know what is what, to put things in their place. And it may sound like, okay, I like organizing. Do you mean that you'll just put labels on everything and, move on? It's not that. Because everything is alive. And so it doesn't become a cold, dead relating. It becomes actually an aliveness, a communion, communication, connection to everything around us, including ourselves. So if I make choices based on my values, now that can be, well, depending on what those actions are, but we're always making choices based on our values, what we're valuing in any given moment. So what does this have to do with wisdom? When we allow introspection and honesty and authenticity, then we can make those choices based on the highest values being that we know what the reality is of everything that we're not only looking at, perceiving, engaging with, relating to, connecting with. When we understand that, we have knowledge plus action, and it equals wisdom. So any questions about that? What is it? What is wisdom? How does it come about? What are these categories? Okay. So how do we acquire it? There are different ways to acquire wisdom. One is by our direct experience. Okay, so I have a direct experience of something. I have a lived experience. I think Shamala mentioned a lived experience. So I go through something, my senses pick up whatever is happening, some situation, and I've lived it. Now I understand. Now I know. I can use my reasoning. I can use memory. There are all these functions that come into play when we have a lived experience. So sure, now I understand. I know that when this happens, that, you know, this is the consequence and so forth. And so that is my experience. That's how I gained it. It's not because someone told me, it's because I lived through it. Okay, so that's known as direct experience. And part of that is trials and tribulations, right? This is what we have a lot of. No matter how much we try to avoid it, there's always going to be some trials in life. And so that's part of our direct experience. Now, if we start thinking, well, when I have direct experience of things, even if they're difficult things, but they can bring me wisdom, because I can understand and I can inquire into, hey, what's happening here? And perhaps I ask someone else that knows more than I do. Hey, this thing happened. What's happening? Please explain to me. What do I do? How do I see this? How do I respond? This brings our difficulties into a different light. They become the main ingredient for our wisdom. So rather than discarding them, we say, wow, I have this opportunity to extract some wisdom from this. And so now everything changes. Everything changes when I come upon something that's difficult, something that's testing me, that's trying me. This is a little gift of wisdom wrapped up in a box. And sometimes, you know, you see someone gives you a gift and you see it wrapped in a box, it's got a ribbon on it. You have no idea what's in there. And so similarly, when we have trying times or we have difficulties, it's wrapped it's wisdom wrapped in a box that looks like a box, but there's the gift is inside. And so it looks like some difficulty, but the gift of wisdom is wrapped up inside it. We just have to know. Otherwise, we throw the whole thing away. I don't never want to hear about it. Imagine someone gave you a gift and you just like put it in a cupboard somewhere and don't even want to look at it because you're afraid of what's in there. We wouldn't do that. We'd be curious. Hey, what's in here? I want to know. And so then you start to change your relationship with the difficulties in our lives. And to change our relationship to pain can be a great source of wisdom. It becomes our friend. So another part of this is our mistakes. When we see things like this, it brings value to our mistakes. They become a source of growth rather than shame. How many times have we made mistakes and are full of regret? And, oh, I can't believe I did that. I can't believe I said that. If only. But there is wisdom in there, because through these mistakes, I can understand, oh, that wasn't the right thing to do, or I could have done something different. What else could I have done? What would have been, you know, what could have happened? And so we create, now we create some, what would you say, like fertilizer, right? Something that informs, that feeds our growth, rather than internalizing that into a source of shame, into a source of pain. And then what happens? Then I start thinking, well, I'm not good enough because I make mistakes all the time, because I don't do the right thing, because I made a wrong choice. I didn't know. But it doesn't have to be that. And so this is also learning about consequences. You learn, you know, if I do this, this happens. If I do this other thing happens. And so you start to use reasoning. And reasoning is another way of taking in wisdom. So we have our direct experience, we have our reasoning capacity, and then we have wise folk, an authority in wisdom. So an authorized source, someone who knows, someone who has lived it, that wise person, they will tell us. So these are several different ways where we know wisdom is there, and we can start to see these are sources of my wisdom. Let me start to interact with them as such. And so wise people, the teacher, the guide, the guru, the spiritual master, the elder, these are all sources of wisdom. And going back to how they dispel our ignorance and illuminate, they give us knowledge. And so like Yashoda was saying, well, I didn't have it, someone gave it to me. Yeah, someone came and dispelled that ignorance and illuminated the knowledge, and now we can share it with someone else. And so you're either, and this is for all of us, we are either a wise person or we are a wise person in the making. And it's already ours. So sometimes it happens that we don't see it that way. And it becomes a test and an opportunity, and sometimes an austerity, to see the greatness in me and around me. And it's not because I'm so great by myself. What makes me great, what makes you great, is not just let's see, how do I say it? It's because we're connected, and we come from, and we're little parts of the absolute greatness, who embodies all qualities, has everything. So even if I'm a tiny part of something that is the greatest, that tiny part still has some greatness in it, isn't it? And so sometimes the difficulty comes. The difficulty becomes to acknowledge and to give up that limiting belief that I'm not enough, that I'm lacking in some way. So in the Bhagavad Gita, there's a talk about equality. Equality, seeing with equality, seeing with equal vision. Seeing with equal vision, and going back to those categories that we talked about, that all living entities, all living beings, no matter what body they are in, whether it's a tree, an ant, a cat, a bird, a lizard, a rat, they all are made up at their essence of that individual eternal personhood. So, okay, great. I'll see everyone as a living eternal person. But sometimes we forget to throw ourselves in that equation. And so everyone else is this living entity who is sacred and eternal, but I forgot to put myself in there. And what happens when I forget to put myself in that equation is that I don't interact with myself and respect and honor myself in the way that is befitting, the way that I want to do that for everyone else. And so true equanimity isn't just about everyone else. It includes me. True equanimity for you includes you. And to see the greatness and the sanctity in everyone else, but to forget to see that in yourself, it makes it a little bit difficult to share our greatness if we don't even see it. If we relegate wisdom and knowledge and grace to everyone else, but I don't have it. It's very difficult because we want to belong. We want to be a part of something great. And we just forget. We start to think, oh, well, if I had this, if I knew that, if I had this talent or that talent, and, you know, then I could share some wisdom for someone. It's already there. So let's see, there was a question here I saw. Can wisdom be anything other than spiritual? Can wisdom be anything other than spiritual? Yeah. Yeah, there are people who wouldn't consider themselves spiritual, who don't use words like soul and eternal living person. They don't use words like, they don't like the word God. But their wisdom, their behavior is still the same as someone who does use those words. So would you say that that isn't wisdom? Or would you say that it isn't spiritual? Yeah, maybe I need more clarity on the question, Yashoda Prabhu. Can wisdom be anything other than spiritual? Because you can have someone who doesn't recognize themselves as a spiritual person at all, but in their behavior, they do have wisdom. They can recognize what's what. They know the truth. They can see it. So sure, why not? I would say, unless someone else has other ideas, I'm open to that too. Okay, so who's that?
That was that
Oh,
was
where are
me.
you? Oh, yeah.
Some more clarity on that, because I was just thinking, are there different levels of wisdom, or is that just what you would consider just information? You know, like how you can like with just a practical subject, say like maths, you can start with 1 + 1 + 2 = and then go on to trigonometry and other calculus, advanced, theoretical mathematics. So I was just wondering, like with wisdom, it just seems like we come back to the spiritual all the time. Doesn't matter who's, like you said, some people that don't like to use the word God, or don't use the word like soul, but what they share can be put into that category. So I was just wondering, is the highest level of wisdom, is that the wisdom that connects you back with your source?
Yes, I would say yes, that there are levels of wisdom, and there are because if the opposite of wisdom is, say, for example, ignorance or not knowing who I am, not knowing who you are, not knowing what's going on around me. And that comes about because there are layers that are covering my understanding. Then if there are many layers that can cover, there are layers that can be removed. So sure, you can come and like remove all the layers all at once, or you can peel them back one by one. So I would say in that sense, there are layers of wisdom. And I think what you're referring to as far as like a highest absolute wisdom, yeah, I think so. There has to be a culmination of wisdom, of understanding, of true knowledge. And that would be what we refer to, say, as a surrendered soul, or an enlightened person, or a pure devotee. Insert whatever your description is of that. Sure, there is a culmination of it. To see with 110% clarity, and to then live from that place, Yeah, I think so. But maybe there are some other ideas about that. Let's see. Scarlett?
Hare Krishna, and thank you very much for today's class. You talk about wisdom, choices, knowing consequences when we choose, and so on and so on. I give you a scenario. I need you to help me so that I understand what can I call that. Let us say it's a war now, so I can take that example because I'm coming from the country. I fled from the war. My country was in the war. It has happened that women had almost gone in her head to and forced her to lie, to say something, to choose something that she knows that moment that she say it, she knows it's wrong, she knows it's a mistake, but the only way to uh, to uh, to be free from this dangerous situation is to do this choice, even though she knows that it's wrong. And consequence, of course, it will be there is consequence. So would you call that wisdom? It was a wisdom that made her to choose that wrong choice, that forced her to choose that. It was not that she had free. We talk about very much about free choices, free choices, free choices. I wonder if there is really 100% everywhere free choices. I wonder, when you have a gun in your head, is it free choice? Is it freedom to choose? If it was not the gun, yes. But when there is a gun, then it's not freedom of choice. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So what is it? Is it the wisdom that made her to choose, even though it was mistake choice?
Yeah, well, this is yeah, that sounds like a horrible situation to be in, that we wouldn't wish on anyone. Philosophically speaking, when you get into the topic of free will, it's defined as being able to make a choice, but to be under duress or under a stressful situation, where your life is in danger or the life of someone else is in danger or something that we greatly value is in danger, that doesn't count as free will, in the sense of, yeah, you choose whether you're going to do this thing or that thing, but your choices are really to die or to choose something else that maybe isn't within your values. But the way free will is defined philosophically is a choice that you can make outside of duress, because that makes it a completely different scenario. It changes everything. So I'm not sure that we can say whether it's wisdom or not wisdom. I mean, it's just a choice that someone made. But it's not free will because someone's putting a gun to your head, and if we value life, we are alive beings, and when we value life, we make choices that perpetuate life. Often there are very brave people, who what they value is something else, and they will die for a cause. But I don't think either one of those we can't ever say it's wrong, this choice is wrong, or that choice is wrong. It's just what the individual was faced with. True free will comes when we're not in duress, because then it's not, you have other things to consider. It kind of throws a wrench into the whole thing. I mean, if someone has a gun to your child's head, what are you gonna do? It doesn't, it changes everything. So Yeah, I don't know if that answers your question. But this is, as far as I understand, this is how true free will is defined philosophically. When we're talking about free will, you have to be free to make a choice. If someone's, extorting you or whatever the case is, you're not really free to make a choice because there are now extenuating circumstances. And so it becomes a different thing. And different people make different choices under duress. And we can't, well, I can't judge that. What I would do is different than what you would do, and what you would do is different than what Surabi would do. And yeah, it's unfortunate that we end up in those situations because of the world that we live in.
But was it her wisdom that made her to choose something to rescue herself from that situation? Was it her wisdom that makes it that she chose and she got rid of that dangerous situation, or was it just random luck?
Perhaps. I mean, we don't know, but every decision that we make is based on some value, something that we're valuing. And even though our decisions may look different, we all have the same needs, and they're always positive. So if this person was valuing life, then that was a wise choice to to do something, to choose something that's going to keep you alive when you're valuing life. Then that is a wise choice. We could say that. Yeah, I mean, we don't ever know unless we were to ask the person, what caused them to make a certain choice. We may not ever know. But perhaps, I mean, yeah. So let's talk about how we start sharing and what are the conditions of how we share these things. So giving and receiving gifts is part of our practice. And some gifts are subtle in nature, so you can't actually physically walk walk up to someone and give them something if it's of a subtle nature. So our gifts are often wisdom gifts. And I want to talk about something that's really, really, really special and important to me. And I think it's relevant to every single one of us here. And so when we're talking about integrating and disseminating wisdom, one of the key tools that we have in our lives for doing that is time. And if we're lucky, we'll have enough time where we will continue, our bodies and will continue to age, and our minds and our intelligence will continue to develop. And when we talk about aging, especially for a group of women, and we all have different ideas and understandings of aging, it's based on our culture, it's based on our upbringing, it's so many different things. But there's currently a particular way of understanding aging. And that is that our current understanding is that aging is the purpose of aging is to die. That when your age, it's because you're going to die. But you don't necessarily have to age to die. You can be very young and die. And so what happens when we link those two things together, when they seem to come hand in hand, that aging just means I'm going to die, then we perhaps can be missing out on something really, really valuable. And one thing that I'm proposing is that if we can learn as individuals and as a society to separate aging from dying, then we have the opportunity to extricate value from that process. So that the purpose of aging is not to die. Dying is going to happen whether you've aged or you haven't aged. So forget that, put that in its own category. It's just something that happens to everyone, but you don't have to age to die. So do they have to be together? Perhaps not. The purpose of aging is to develop our character, to realize our true selves, and to give back in reciprocity. And so it changes the entire dynamic of this process that we call aging. And if it's to bring me something, bring me closer to something else, then it has a value that is so much different than just saying, okay, as I age, all I can think about is death. It's as I age, what have I accumulated? And Shamla used that word, accumulated. And there's a really powerful example about this. There's a woman, she was a Susan B. Anthony. She was a suffragette. She was a leader of the suffragette movement in the 1800s. And she was born into a Quaker community. And so her work was about civil rights. She was trying to speak out against slavery in the United States, and also women's rights. And she said, as I get older, I find more power to help others. She said, I'm like a snowball that the more I roll, the more I accumulate and then can share with others. And so if you take that idea of accumulating so that we can give to others, that only comes with time, aka the aging process, if we're lucky, then it changes everything. So we have the opportunity to age gracefully, to see it as one of the greatest gifts, that I am being given time. And as my body's demands change, and the demands of where I am in my life, my family life, or my career life starts to change, it's not that I'm useless. It's that now I'm being given the opportunity to focus on something else other than those very busy to do things that we have going on at different stages in life. And so this is important because we have a lot of fear that comes up around aging. We have a lot of hangups around aging. And so if we can see it from that perspective, then it changes everything. It changes how I take in information, how I integrate it, and then how I give it out. And I see the purpose of my time here as something different, as a gaining, not as a losing in the process of aging. And the reason why that's important is because there's an opportunity and there's space to get back into a way of living where we honor the elder, and we move towards that consciously as we move forward in our lives, as we accumulate years of experience. There's an opportunity to say, yes, this is ultimately where I'm headed. I'm headed to the place where I'm going to accumulate things that I can then give back. I am gathering, like that snowball, just gathering more as I go along the way. And then what do I do with it? I'm going to give it to everybody else. So one very important part of that is, if I don't know what I'm offering, what gifts I've been given, I won't be able to share it. how can I give something if I won't even acknowledge it within myself because I think I'm too small, I think I'm not good enough, I think maybe I haven't been given anything. Oh, my gift doesn't matter, it's unimportant. You know, I don't have this fancy gift where I can create whatever, big paintings, or I have a friend who has this ability to create $1 million corporations. That's just a gift that she has. Now, if I put my gift up against hers and I think, well, I can't do that, so I actually don't have a gift, so I'm just going to go over there and sit down. It doesn't work that way. And I have gifts that she just, they are beyond her. Like my ability to listen to people, like deeply listening, she can't do that. But I can't create $1 million company. And so there's this awareness that comes, and this goes back to knowledge and really seeing things for what they are. You know, especially in a spiritual practice, we work so hard to see things as what they're not, you know, to think, well, you know, I'm not the center of everything. I am not the all and all, be all, end all. But sometimes sometimes that's detrimental to us to not see. It's okay to see things, you know, the reality that, yeah, this is, you know, I'm a human, I'm flawed, I have all these things that I can't do, and I'm limited in my time and in my abilities and this and that. That's okay. But if we also, let's see, how can I say this? We're careful of pride because it can help, because if we're prideful, we forget what we really are, that we are small parts of something greater. But we also have to be careful with humility, because if humility isn't expressed appropriately, humility can also make us forget who we really are. And that is someone who has something to share, something to contribute. I wasn't put here by accident. You weren't put here by accident. There's no such thing. And so if I think I'm so great, then I'll forget who I really am. If I forget that I'm so, if I think that I'm so small, then I'll forget who I really am. So we have to find that balance. And this is what I want to talk about. Surabi, how are we on time?
Yeah, we've got, how about we close in about 5 minutes? That'll leave us 25 minutes to the end of the meeting.
Okay, so let's talk about what we're going to discuss today. Let's talk about our gifts and what how we're going to share them in the world. What have we been given? So I like to call our gifts superpowers, because that's really what we have. Each one of us has a superpower, and a superpower I'll define as your own unique way of connecting, whether it's connecting with the earth, connecting with nature, connecting with animals, connecting with children, connecting with women, connecting with men, connecting with whatever, elephants, whatever it is, you name it. There's no wrong. Your superpower comes naturally. And then here's the thing about a superpower that comes naturally. Sometimes it's been with us so long, for our whole lives, that we don't even recognize it as a superpower because we do it automatically. And so it's hard sometimes to find what my superpower is, because I don't even know that I'm doing it. Everyone else can see it around me, but it's like I'm not doing anything. I'm just being me. So that's something to keep in mind. Your superpower, when you use it, it makes you feel enlivened. It brings you alive. It makes you feel satisfied. I am complete. Your superpower may or may not be in its full expression as of now. And that's okay. And your superpower does not have to be extraordinary. And by superpower, we don't mean someone who can compose like Bach, or, you know, some gold medal Olympic gymnast or something like that. It doesn't have to be extraordinary. As a matter of fact, most superpowers are very ordinary things, but you do them so naturally, so beautifully. No one else could do it the way you do it. And so this is our first test. We're going to share what our superpower is. Perhaps someone else has told you, oh, you're really good at that, and you still can't believe it. You're like, I don't know what they're talking about, but 15 people have told me this. Perhaps that's something that we're going to share. And are you sharing it freely, or are you holding back? Maybe you don't think it's a superpower. Maybe you think, oh, you know, no one's really going to get any value out of this. So that's a question to ask yourselves, and we'll share with that. And the last thing that if there's time, the last thing I'd like to talk about is share your wisdom. What is one thing, at least one thing, that you've learned, that you know without a shadow of a doubt, that you've accumulated in your lifetime, that can be a benefit to others? And we don't know if it's going to be of benefit to others, so we just have to share it. So examples of a superpower, if anyone's confused about this superpower, it can be, I have a friend who, whenever there's more than one person in conversation or in discussion or dialogue or even in conflict, they have this unique ability to see everyone's perspective and respect that. And a lot of us can't do that. And that's a superpower. Whenever there are people around in some conversation, this person will see everyone's point of view. Perhaps connecting with groups is your superpower, you know. You just know what to do. You can be like a coach, you know, like a softball coach or something like that. Not everyone can do that. Connecting with groups, connecting with individuals. Perhaps once you come into a one-on-one thing, something happens. Oh, Gory. Oh my God, Gory. I just saw you, sorry. I just saw you. I'm like so excited to Gory. Oh, one of the sweetest people in this world. She has many superpowers. Yeah. Perhaps it's gardening. Perhaps it's cooking. Perhaps it's owning a business. You know, I can do this really well. I don't know, I just have a business. I can do it. Maybe that's it for you. Perhaps it's educating children. Perhaps it's deep listening, or perhaps it's knowing what to do in an emergency. There are people who, there's an emergency, they immediately respond. That's their superpower. So it's not something that, you know, okay, I'm going to use every single day and that will make it my superpower. No, it's just something that comes natural to you, that you just can acknowledge, yes, I'm good at this. It's okay to acknowledge that we have these things, because what is going to keep us in a healthy place as far as acknowledging talents and gifts is very simple. It's just to remember where they come from. To claim them appropriately means to remember where they come from. Like Yashoda said, I didn't, you know, someone gave it to me. She's acknowledging that it came from someone else. She's claiming, and she raised her hand when I said, who is a wise person? She's claiming it appropriately. That was a living, breathing example. I did not put her up to it. So this is what we're going to discuss. And at the end, we're going to have a list. So if we're going, how many groups are we going to have, Surabi?
I'm looking at 7 groups amongst 21 people, so about 2 to 3 people in a group.
Okay. So someone from the group, please, you're going to make a list of each person's superpower. And then we're all going to, then when we come back together, we're going to put that list together. You'll have one representative from your group who's going to say, these are the minimum 3. If there's 3 people, we're going to have 3 superpowers. If there's 6 or 9 or 12, great. So Scarlett, what's your superpower?
I am mother of 6 children that I could see anything they were going to do, anything they were going to lie, I could see it. And I still can see it.
Okay. So you,
When I'm
yeah.
sitting in my apartment, I can feel which one of them is sick, have pain, where they have pain, and I call them.
Yeah, yeah. So this connection as a mother. Yeah,
Yes.
my mom's like that too. She'll dream of something
Yes, you
going
can call
on
it
and she'll
a
call.
superpower. I don't know if I'm calling it a superpower, but this is the only thing I can come.
Okay, so let's just thank you, Scarlett. So let's see who's gonna give lists of their
Lila,
groups.
Lila, we missed hearing from Radha Rasika. So could you ask her, because she was
Yeah.
in our group and then not in our group, and so if you could ask her.
Hare Krishna. I was actually in room 1 with Michelle, and I don't know. I was not aware that I was in your group too. So, I wouldn't call it as a superpower, but recently, at least for 6-7 years, I have been a single mom, and I think that's a tough journey. But I would like to give this credit to my mother, because I think she gave me a very powerful lesson that I carry every single day in my life, which is not giving up, being a resilient single mom, because she made me realize that there is a soul. I wouldn't call him a soul. He's everything to me. He's a priceless gift to me. So he's dependent on me. He looks up to me for love, protection, and for everything as a primary care giver. So learning how to survive, learning how to do things, and being resilient, not giving up on things easily, because be it anything, for the matter of fact, Krishna consciousness, when these things happen, it's hard. And I have been intending to, I was actually talking to Michelle, I have been intending to join this Sangha for years, but finally I gathered courage and I said, you know what, today I'm going to start because I do want to stick to a fundamental principle of reaching out to Vaishnavis, strong Vaishnavis who can be a kind of support, because things get harder with Krishna consciousness, especially when it's hard. And my child is very young, he's 8-year-old, turning 9 in November, and I have a long path to go. So resilience is not enough. I also need to have deeper connections with others. So yeah, I think right now with current scenario is not giving up and just surviving, hanging on.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay, what are the other superpowers that came up? I love that, Radha. Who else? Let's see. Okay, I'm just gonna start calling on people. Deepa, what's your superpower?
My superpower, I guess it's resilience as well. I've been told I have a lot of strength, that I went through a divorce and my son was 7 at the time. And yeah, and a lot of people have said to me that the way I did everything and how strong I stayed was really, they wouldn't have been able to do it. They would have gone under. So yeah, it's I guess it's good to know that, and rather you can carry on. It'll get better, and just stay connected to Krishna.
Excellent. Thank you. So resiliency. Surabi, what's your superpower?
Boy, I didn't get a chance to think about it. I was trying to figure out the breakout rooms, but you know, I know we're so many moms on the forum, and I have 3 children. They're now, you know, 2 working and 1 just finishing college. But it's that mom thing. It's the resilience, the ability to, you know, manage so many threads, work for so many years. So, and I think if I just amaze it at more a deeper level, I think it will be just like an overall concern for the world. Like you get to a point where you become very empathetic and compassionate because you see how, you know, nature, the things going wrong in nature or the wars can impact human lives so much, and then it brings it down to your home level as well. So I think you open up your heart to feel more for others all the time, which is kind of a double-edged sword, you know, given the world we live in. But that's where I'm coming from. Thanks for asking, Lila.
Yeah, so it sounds like empathy is your superpower. Apart from, so you have multiple superpowers, which most of us do. The mother, so that includes, for all of you who said mother, that includes nurturing and all of that, and that your empathy. Beautiful. Gori, what's your superpower?
Haribo, Lila. Nice to see you too, and Shamala. What I mentioned in our breakout room was connecting with individuals. Something that I did for some time, and it was very fulfilling. Just caring for other ladies, Vaishnavis, that was very fulfilling. And for now, I'm holding back. That was the other question, but I hope I can do it again. Sometime.
Beautiful. Okay. Poppy, what's your superpower?
Hare Krishna. My superpower is compassion and being able to listen. Though I also shared in our group that I am currently also struggling to find my superpower and then believe in it, because my inner critic and self-doubt is so high because of so maybe when you get at the chance, that was one of the questions that I wanted to ask was, what if I can't access my superpower after facing few here and there experiences?
Yeah, that happens where we lose touch a little bit. Yeah, that's certainly something we will discuss. Okay, so for the sake of time, I'll just keep collecting the superpowers, and then we can discuss how we can all keep in touch to support each other. Susan, what's your superpower?
Lila, Sharmila has a list. I'm sorry, and we're 3 minutes away to the end. Okay, just so you know.
Yeah.
I would just say being able to listen deeply. I can be quiet and just hear people. And when people are in pain, I just feel my presence is able to hold them in that place.
Okay, wow, beautiful. Yeah, deep listening, holding space. Who has a list?
Sharmila.
Okay, where's this list? Where is she?
Sharmila.
Oh, there you are. Okay.
Room 4, we had Yashoda Mataji and Gauri Mataji and myself. So Yashoda Mataji's superpower is to bring people together. That's she feels that it's her calling to bring the community together, and that's the work primarily she's focused on. And Gauri Mataji already mentioned that she loves to connect with individuals, and for me as well, I love to connect with groups, and I love to organize events, and I used to do that a lot. Although now, both Gauri Mataji as well as me, we are holding back. But Yashoda Mataji seems to be all out, and she's, she feels her calling.
Yes. Okay. Community building. Beautiful. So Shamala, what's your superpower?
Sorry, Lila, we're right on the 2-minute mark to the end of the session.
Maybe can we have everyone's permission to do 5 more minutes? Raise your hand if it's okay with you to do 5 more minutes. You don't
Okay.
have to say yes, but yeah.
All right. Looks like we have a majority. Good. Good.
Okay. So let's see, Shamala.
Yeah, I can share. I took notes from the group I was in. So had Sangeeta Priya. She said that she thinks in a creative way and connects with others empathetically. And then I had Ananda, trying to find her video. Yeah, Ananda. And she said she's good at sitting with people at the time of death. She actually works in hospice. So she holds space for them at that time. And I shared that I have an ability to take spiritual concepts and share them in a way that's relatable and relevant for especially new people. So
Nice, beautiful. Okay, cool. So let's see, we have Marcita.
Hare Krishna. I had Dana and I were in a group together, and Dana shared that her superpower is being sensitive and empathetic. And I shared that mine is specifically like at my work, that I try to be a mentor and teach our younger team members.
Nice, beautiful. Thank you. Okay, so and then we got Ananda, I think. Rasastali, maybe did we get yours?
Hare Krishna. So Poppy and Susan were in my group and they've already stated theirs, so I'll just share mine. So I have the ability to see far ahead in a situation what's needed to see it to completion or troubleshoot. So whether the situation is good or bad, I'm able to assess what's required. My second superpower would be to hold space for a person and my confidentiality. And then my third one is I'm able to recognize, without knowing somebody too well even, I'm able to recognize their talents and proclivities and engage that in devotional service.
Wow, that's like Rukmini's superpower. It came up that she's able to see other people's superpower.
But not her own.
But not her own. Wow, beautiful. Okay, and then we got Dana's, Michelle. Did we Sangeeta? I think maybe it's the only person we didn't get.
And John Michelle has a beautiful share.
She shared hers is her caring for the children.
But she has a beautiful story that she said she would share.
Oh yeah. Sangeeta? Okay, so that's a lot of superpowers. So you can see everyone has them. And I would say a special prize goes to Rasastali for naming 3 of her superpowers. Show them how it's done. I love this. Okay, yeah, so it looks like we're at time, but this is it. It's okay to recognize our greatness as long as we claim it appropriately. And what that means is to remember that the reason that we're great is because of where we come from, our source. We come from the absolute infinite greatness. And of course, we have some little tiny part of that greatness. And then to properly share it with others, to empower others, to empower ourselves appropriately by giving in love. Because when we take our powers and we want to share them with love, and it's not about what I'm going to get in return, that's it. That's purifying it. And we're helping the world. So please go forth. Do not underestimate your superpowers. And this is just one of them. We only had like a few minutes to think about what's my superpower, but let's start considering that, because we have a responsibility and an opportunity to give that to others, especially as women. We want to be empowered so that we can be of service.
Thank you so much, Lila. That was so beautiful. I just want to respect everyone's time. And I'll just tell you, please mark your calendars. On Sunday, November 19th will be our next Urban Devi session. Lila, that was absolutely beautiful. And we want to have you back many, many times. So thank you so much. I just wanted to share with you that next month on November 19th will be Chitty Shakti from London. She's a psychiatrist and a disciple of Bhakti Swami. She's going to talk about transforming and transcending everyday trauma. She says all trauma causes some destabilizing of our sense of identity. Our everyday experiences have the potential to be a source of trauma, as we are bombarded by images and information at fiber optic speed, and many of these are troubling. We don't have to directly have experienced distressing situations for them to traumatize us. In this session, we will find out how we can transform and rise above everyday trauma to heal, grow, and deepen our connection with ourselves, others, and divinity. Thank you all so much for being here. I want to respect your time. Thank you for staying after. And thank you, Lila. That was amazing. Thank you, Surabhi Govinda, for hosting. And thank you all for being here. Hare Krishna. So grateful to all of you. Hari Hari Bol.